A number of employees with the Daily Hampshire Gazette and a few other affiliated newspapers are attempting to form a union. Leaders at its parent company, Newspapers of New England, Inc., have declined to recognize the union, which prompted a vote that's being held this evening. The attempt to unionize comes in a year when several news agencies across the country have also done so. I asked Bara Dunau, a member of the Pioneer Valley NewsGuild, which is seeking union status, why this is happening now.
Why this move now is that we at the Gazette, the workers there, who have about more than 70% of us, have signed on and believe that we want to have more of a voice in how our company is run and also in the future in the direction of it. I mean, to be perfectly honest, although we'll get into some of the issues that we've had with how management has acted, overall, we're doing this because we love the Gazette, we love local journalism. We would be doing many other different jobs in many other different fields if we didn't love local journalism. And we want to keep this newspaper strong, profitable, and thriving for decades to come.
So Newspapers of New England, Inc., which is your parent company, could have chosen to voluntarily recognize the union. At this point, they haven't done that. So what that means is you'll move forward, as I understand it, with a vote on December 12th. Is that right?
Yes. We filed with the National Labor Relations Board. An election date has been set. And Newspaper of New England can choose to voluntarily recognize us, that is, recognize us as the union for the workers at the Gazette and the Valley Advocate. If they do that, then we become the union, and we then enter into good faith bargaining negotiations. So
the Gazette and the Advocate, you're singling those two papers out, but they own many more. So why not more papers under that mantle? We
welcome any other workers who wish to organize and who wish to join the NewsGuild, join the Pioneer Valley NewsGuild and under Newspaper New England, or really any other non-unionized paper. But the fact of the matter is that this union is the workers, and the fact of the matter, this is a year-long effort of us having conversations, talking amongst each other, and deciding that we wanted to form the union. This is not an outside effort. A number of people, myself included, came together last year and decided that there were issues and also that we just wanted more of a voice in the paper, and so then we formed it. We reached out to the NewsGuild. They didn't reach out to us. We have used their resources, but the people who guide this are the people in the newspaper, are the journalists, the pressmen, the maintenance workers who decided that this is the direction that we want to go. So really why we don't have other papers at the moment is that an organizing effort hasn't really been created or picked up steam at those places yet. If it does, and I think maybe it will, we will happily work with them, help them out, give them any resources that they need. But really, we can't organize people outside of a workplace because, we work 40 hours, sometimes 40 plus hours, doing the hard work of selling ads, writing articles, printing the newspaper itself. So that's why.
Job as
yes, the day-to-day job.
So let's get specific and based on a few things you just said. What are some of the issues that have come up for you and other employees?
Well, one of the things that we really were concerned about was the decimation of our graphics department and choosing to outsource it to Gannett. We didn't think that was a particularly good move, and we also didn't think it was executed particularly well. Similarly, the cutting of our award-winning photography department. We still have a photo department, thank goodness, but but we did lose a valuable member of the photography team, and then another one has basically transitioned into kind of like a halfway role. And we also didn't appreciate that. We had a long-term calendars person who was let go, and again, we don't necessarily know all of the details because we are not a unionized shop. Basically, they tell us and we don't know, we don't see the books. But fundamentally, even if those decisions had to be made, we would like to have been in the room bargaining to see if we could have A, had better outcomes for our colleagues in terms of how they left the paper, and B, perhaps found an alternative. Honestly, I personally would have been willing to work less hours a week if it meant keeping our photography staff whole and solvent.
And so that's one of the messages that you would have, as a union, would have communicated to management?
We would have communicated to management that we want to have, and that was just something I pulled out of the hat, but we basically would have communicated that we want to keep the Gazette functioning as it has been as a strong, vibrant community newspaper with strong, vibrant employees that is looking forward towards the long-term profitability and sustainability and viability, and not short-term profits. I think, I have been at several different newspapers over my career. I'm 30 years old. I've been a journalist for 7.5 years, and to be quite frank, I've seen the cutting your way to success model in other places, and it just doesn't work. And honestly, we don't want to see that happen to the Gazette, which is lovely and thriving. Yes.
And we did invite your publisher, Julian, to come in and participate as part of the discussion. And, he emailed me back, was very gracious, and said that he thinks this is a very important issue and that the company views this really overall as an internal employee matter. But he went further and said, quote, "The management team here at the Gazette is committed to respecting our employees' legal rights throughout this process, and we want the election to be based on the facts and each employee's personal decision as to what they view best for that individual." What's tenor like been at the paper since the NewsGuild announced its intention?
So, again, it's like the Pioneer Valley NewsGuild did announce its intention, but really it's just like the workers themselves announced its intention. I know that may sound like semantics or spin, but the fact of the matter is that we are not an outside organization. So more than 70% of us went together and said, we want this, and we're going to call ourselves the Pioneer Valley NewsGuild. But in terms of how it's been in the newsroom and out back, it's been great. Aaron, to his credit, and to our manager's credit, they've been following federal law. We are allowed to, as is our right, wear our NewsGuild lanyards, to wear our buttons, and if anything, I've had even better interactions with my managers since this went public. And just the morale's been awesome. There's more talking between departments, people are more cheerful, and we're all just really working hard. I just started, my beat was switched around a bit, voluntarily, because to cover Northampton courts this week, and that's been great. And it's been that was a really good decision on the part of my manager and my editor. And I've really enjoyed that. So, yeah. So
we're talking about this here locally, but nationally, we've seen the Chicago Tribune come out and organize, Los Angeles Times come out and organize, and the New Yorker Magazine staff all unionized over the past year. Any sort of inspiration that you took from that movement?
I think the inspiration that we took is that it's good to see that we're not alone and that we are don't have to pioneer this. But the real inspiration that we took from this was from our fellow workers. As when something that happened last year was we discovered that there was an awful pay disparity between men and women in editorial at the Gazette. When that was revealed, it was rectified. But that was something that really put into our minds that we need a voice, we need eyes on the books, and we need to be more equal partners with it. So if anything, the things that really inspired me were my female colleagues who stepped up and advocated for themselves and showed solidarity.
So at this point, as we mentioned, December 12th is the vote, and then what happens from there?
So what happens from there is it's a binding election. If we win, we become the union, and then we sit down and we bargain in good faith. And when I say bargain in good faith, yes, that is a technical term, which you can Google and look up in terms of that you have to put forward a proposal and then you can't retract it. But what it also means is that outside of the technical term, by good faith is that we want the same thing in many ways that management does. We want a strong and viable Gazette. I'll tell you right now, what we want is we want more people buying the Gazette. If you support us, the workers, if you support local journalism, if you support unions, go buy a Gazette subscription, either in paper or online or both. Because really at the fundamental level, that's what we want. We want a strong, viable Gazette that is going into the future, and we want to bargain with that in mind. And that's also going to mean making sure that we, the workers, are taken care of so we can stay here for a long time.